Good day and good day, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Conversations with AARP in the Virgin Islands. I'm Troy Deshabert Schuster, State Director for AARP in this territory. Today's discussion is held to commemorate LGBTQ plus Pride Month, to honor the work of advocates for equal justice and equal opportunity for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered Americans. In June of 1969, patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising to resist the police harassment and persecution to which LGBTQ Americans were commonly subjected. This uprising marked the beginning of a movement to outlaw discriminatory laws and practices against LGBTQ Americans. This and every June, we commemorate the month to recognize the impact that the LGBTQ plus individuals have had on history, locally, nationally, and internationally. As the nation's leading organization for social change, AARP is working to give greater attention to the LGBTQ plus community by driving awareness and encouraging greater acceptance and support for individuals to live their best lives. As an association, AARP is inclusive in its policies, programs, and advocacy positions. In the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and across the United States, it enhances the quality of life for all as we age. AARP's unwavering commitment to the LGBTQ plus community reflects the organization's core belief in every individual's dignity, worth, and potential. AARP rejects discrimination based on a person's age, race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender identity, and sees diversity as a source of strength. LGBTQ plus communities are a vital part of the quilt of American life. AARP carries forward the words of its founder, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, in saying, "What we do for all." And AARP invites everyone to participate in Pride events in June and throughout the year. To that end, we are creating opportunities to connect communities. Joining us today is Dr. Bob Palmetier from St. Croix Pride and Dr. Maria Nisbet from PFLAG St. Thomas Incorporated to discuss their role in dispelling the misconceptions and stigma about the LGBTQ plus community. And so, Bob and Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to have both of you on the show. You've been guests on the show in the past, and it's wonderful to have you back. And so, starting off with PFLAG, this is something that's fairly new to us in the Virgin Islands. So, Maria, tell us about PFLAG and what it does and how it's starting up in St. Thomas and extending to St. Croix.
Awesome, awesome. So PFLAG is the largest and the first LGBTQ organization. We've been around since 1973. PFLAG National Branch has been around since 1973. And since then, they have 400 communities across the United States. Here in St. Thomas, this is our first month actually. We just launched last month, and we want to be able to provide that support and that soft landing place, that place for LGBTQ community, their family members, their friends, the community to just come and learn about what does it even mean to be a member of the LGBTQ community? What does that mean? Where do we get support? Where do we ask these questions? Where do we have these conversations? So we're so excited to be here. Launching this chapter, it's been 2 years coming. So for the past 2 years, we've been working hard behind the scenes to make sure that we have a presence here in the territory. And I'm just really, really so excited that this year, especially in time for Pride Month, that we are up and running and ready to just be what the Virgin Islands need as far as support for the LGBTQ community.
And so, tell us, what does the acronym PFLAG stand for? What does it mean?
Okay, so initially, because right now they just go by PFLAG, but initially it stands for Parents and Families of Lesbians and Gays. So now they just adopted it as a word and not so much as an acronym because it's more inclusive. You don't have to be a family or a friend. You could just be an ally. You could just be somebody that wants to support the community. So it just changed from an acronym to now just a word, just so it's more inclusive.
Excellent, excellent. Good to know that. And Bob, tell us about St. Croix Pride and a little bit about its history and your involvement with St. Croix Pride.
Well, St. Croix Pride started in our front yard as a yard party back in 2014. And we got our act together enough to actually become an official organization in 2017. And then the parade you mentioned, we had the first Pride parade in pretty much the whole Caribbean. And it went off with really without a hitch, even though there were lots of threats, as Troy said. We had a wonderful police presence that made all the efforts to interfere go away, and it ended up a very interesting thing in that the politicians all joined in, and we had the current governor and lieutenant governor were in the parade. Our current delegate representative to Congress was in the parade. So we had a lot of support and allies. In my time here on St. Croix, I've been really impressed with the number of allies that we have, and they're not all the parents and families people. They're just honest allies who believe in fair equity and have been extremely supportive.
That's wonderful. I remember, as you mentioned, when you were planning the first Pride Parade and all of the negative rhetoric on the radio stations and so forth, but it all seemed to disappear. And subsequent Pride parades, there were no threats, there were no negative comments, at least none that I heard. And it shows that our community is becoming more understanding, more inclusive, more tolerant, if you will, more supportive in every which way. So that's really reassuring. So I thank you, Bob, and your organization for being the pioneers in this on St. Croix and being the voice for the LGBTQ plus community here. And Maria, I now hear that on St. Thomas there's going to be another Pride parade. I know we had last year. When was the beginning of the Pride parade on St. Thomas? Give us that history.
So that was the first year was 2001, and it was more of a walk. So we want to get to the point of a parade, but it's usually like a smaller gathering. So the first walk was in 2021, right after the first year of COVID. And now this is going to be our third year. We've seen every year it's been growing, more support, more people coming out. And again, we have also not had any issues, no backlash, nobody causing any issues. We had a great police presence at both events, and we've never had any issues or any protests or counter protests or anything. So I think this year is going to be just as great. And our goal is to work up to doing a full parade.
You know, every time I think of the struggle of the LGBTQ plus community, I think of the struggle of African American blacks in the United States, from the time of slavery through segregation into full integration. And here it is that the LGBTQ plus community is going through that, but making great advances as well. And it would seem to me like all minority groups should be very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community because in many respects we share very similar, if not same struggles, right? One
Mhm.
group may be a little bit further down the road than the other group, but
Mhm.
we're all here to help each other, or should be here to help each other. And whether you're a minority or LGBTQ plus, whether you're in the majority, it's all about humanity supporting each other and loving each other. And in the world in which we live today with so much unrest all around us,
Right.
there are wars, there's famine, there are mass shootings, there's all kinds of acts of violence. We need to find more place in our hearts for love and acceptance and support rather than pulling each other down because we're just going to be self-destructive. So,
Exactly.
what are your thoughts, starting with Bob? What are your thoughts on Pride and the advances that have been made in the United States and here in the Virgin Islands? What's your reflection on it?
Well, I started with this whole Pride movement in Alabama, where I worked with Equality Alabama before I moved to St. Croix. And it's kind of interesting. I was talking earlier about the fact that there's a new survey out about where the most LGBTQ friendly places in the red states are, and Birmingham, Alabama is number one. And I credit that to the movement that we fostered. Was people just need to get to know people, and it's all about who you are. And I became a school principal as one of my jobs, and most of the people who I was working with didn't even think they knew anybody gay. And by the time Christmas time, they asked, "Can we come to your house for our Christmas party?" And then they did that for the next 5 years. Well, I was principal at that school until I retired. But so there was 100 people who got to know, but there wasn't any real difference. And I think that's the major approach. Unfortunately, I think we've got a lot of unrest going on in the mainland these days that fortunately I have not experienced here. But and that's one of the reasons in my 10 years living here in St. Croix, I've been really pleased at the level of acceptance and just not mattering. And as I said earlier, the allies, my neighbors don't care. They'd be concerned if I didn't keep my property up, but other than that, they don't care about me and who I am and so on. And I think that's the wonderful part of life these days. And I think that's more true everywhere if we could get the politicians to just be quiet and quit their nonsense.
Exactly. And Maria, what are your thoughts on the development and the progress of Gay Pride?
So here in St. Thomas, we haven't, like I said, we haven't had any issues. And the first year that I did this, I actually thought there was going to be some problems. My mom was like, "You're going to have those people out in the streets. What if something happens?" I'm like, "All right, Mom, we're just going to the road. It's not going to be an issue." But just to see the fact that nobody bothered us, even posting it on Facebook, I'm like I was preparing for the responses. I was preparing to respond to a lot of hate, which I didn't get. And it's so amazing to see because the PFLAG motto is leading with love. And as long as you hold on to that we're leading with love, it's not about you're different or you're this or you're that or whatever it is the narrative is. In the mainland, there's a lot going on. There's just a lot of talking heads that's creating this unrest that's not necessary. All we have to do is just lead with love. Start with that. If we can just love everybody for who they are, all that they are, then we can move past everything else. We're not asking for differences. We're not asking for better or for anything. It's just, can we just be seen as human? Can we just keep the humanistic part of it? Can we just love each other? And here in St. Thomas, honestly, I have seen that. We've not had any issues. So we've come a long way, longer than I actually thought that we had come. And of course, there's still a way to go. But the fact that we were able to set up PFLAG here and we've had no issues so far. And people come out and support our events. We have AARP supporting our events. We have other community partners reaching out, asking how they can support. It literally makes my heart smile to know that we've come this far and there's the road is there for us to go further.
Wonderful. And growing up here in the Virgin Islands, I remember when I came to realize that I myself am gay, I felt like I was living my life in fear and trembling. But now I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel accepted, generally speaking, in the community. I've never had anybody treat me in any kind of rude way. I don't know what they're thinking or feeling in the depths of their heart, but at least I feel accepted and respected around the Virgin Islands. And so it's very reassuring. I think we've made great progress here in the territory. And
That's a
it's so
big
wonderful.
statement.
Yeah.
That's a big
And
statement. I feel safe. I feel safe. That says a lot about our community, that somebody can sit here and say, I feel safe. There's a lot of places where that doesn't happen.
exactly, exactly. And it's so wonderful to work for this great organization, AARP, that's so very, very inclusive. I was
Mhm.
a member of the inaugural Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council within AARP. And it was all about making AARP more inclusive, more diverse, more equitable for all peoples, regardless of their nationality, their age, their gender identity, et cetera, their sexual orientation. And so I'm happy that AARP is able to sponsor and co-host various
Mhm.
activities for Pride Month across the territory. So, talking about that, Bob, tell us about the activities on St. Croix for Pride Month that St. Croix Pride is hosting.
Well, we've already had the first Pride, which is a big dance party out at Point Udall, which we bill as the first Pride Month party in the US. It started at 8 p.m. on the 31st and went to 1 a.m. on the 1st. So we could be the first and the furthest east point of the US. And then we followed this week with the AARP sponsored co-hosted event at the museum here with the Pride exhibit, which will run through, I think, the 23rd of the month. And we we will continue with a big beach party. Well, there are lots of smaller events like karaoke and trivia, hikes. But the big events is the next one coming up on the 17th is um, a big beach pool party at Sandcastle on America. Liquor Mini, who has been here several times and has kind of adopted the island as
Yes.
drag queen. And then we'll have the parade on the 24th. And this year the parade is in Christiansted, but it's a totally different route. It's starting way out on by North Shore Road and intersection, and then coming on down King Street and stopping at Government House. So and there will be a big health fair following that, which Frederickstead Healthcare is organizing, and it will include any health-oriented organization, and even like the animal shelter is a health-oriented organization. So there are lots of different organizations that will have exhibits there. So anybody who is interested in just general health or especially LGBTQ plus health will be welcome. That'll be on the street that's there heading down to the waterfront where they usually have the jump up activities. And then we'll close out the month with Virgin Vogue at Levels. And that's a big dance party with Mary Mac, a big time DJ from New York City, who's coming in for her second time to helm the event at Levels. So there's a lot of different things. If you go on to the best site to go is the Facebook St. Croix Pride site. That everything is on there, and it's just repeated over and over and over again. So you can see that. And mainly, it's just a lot of celebration, and that's our organization: is educate, advocate, and celebrate. And those three things, and as Maria said, the safety is the big thing. And people from the mainland visiting often say, well, do you feel safe here? Yes, I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and we feel much safer here than we did there. So safety is important, and it's a big deal here in the VI. So come help us support Pride, join the parade. You'll find the contact information on that Facebook page.
Yep. So please do check out St. Croix Pride Facebook page for all of the information about the Pride events on St. Croix during this month. And Maria, tell us about what's going to be happening on St. Thomas. So what is already happening on St. Thomas?
Okay, so we already had our first event, AARP sponsored, this past Saturday. That was our meet and greet and listening event. So the goal of that was for the community to be able to meet PFLAG, find out who we are, and then also for us to listen. Because we don't want to be this organization that just shows up here and gives the community what we want them to have. We want to hear, what do you want from us? What do you want to see on this island for the LGBTQ community? What do you want us to do for you? How do you want us to best represent you? So that was our first event this past Saturday. Again, AARP sponsored, so thank you so much. Our next event is going to be this Friday at Leatherback. This is our karaoke. And this is more of just come out and have fun. Because like Bob said earlier, sometimes you're around people and you don't even know that you're around somebody that's a part of the LGBTQ community, because there's no difference. So let's just come out and sing and just have fun and just enjoy each other's company. And then the next event is going to be April 17th. That one is a health and wellness fair. So it's going to be at Linquist Beach from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's all about health and wellness. So we have different organizations, including the health department, that's going to come out and put out health information. I know they're going to be doing some screenings there. We have a chiropractor that's going to be joining us, somebody doing yoga, Reiki, Zumba. So just come out, have fun, and prioritize your health during this month. And then our final event, which is going to be June 24th, that is our Pride Walk. It's our biggest event, also AARP sponsored. That one's going to be at Emancipation Garden starting at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we're just going to walk down the side of the road from Emancipation down to Yacht Haven and back. All of our events are family friendly. So except the karaoke, because there will be alcohol served at the bar. But our other events are family friendly, and it's just an open and welcoming environment so that we can celebrate Pride Month, celebrate who we are, and invite our allies to come and just have a good time. Fun, safe events.
And tell our listening audience again, where can they find information about the events on St. Thomas?
Yes, so you can follow our Facebook page, PFLAG St. Thomas, no spaces, PFLAG St. Thomas, or you can also email us at pflagstthomas@gmail.com. All our events are listed there, and all the upcoming events moving forward are going to be listed there as well.
Great. And also, anyone can visit our AARP Virgin Islands Facebook page, and all of this information is there on our Facebook page regarding PFLAG on St. Thomas and St. Croix Pride on the bigger island. So we're happy to provide all of that information and happy to partner with PFLAG and with St. Croix Pride to sponsor and co-host several events across the territory. And as Bob said, to how does that go again? To advocate, celebrate. What was the first one? Educate. Educate. That's it. Educate, advocate, and celebrate. And so AARP, being an advocacy organization, we're happy to advocate for equality for all peoples, especially in this case here, the LGBTQ plus community across the territory and across the United States. So what are your closing thoughts and hopes for the future of Pride in the Virgin Islands, Bob?
I guess my hope is that we continue to just become commonplace. I mean, the events should not be a surprise once a year, but they should be an expected once a year celebration. And then throughout the year, we ought to remember the same information, and we ought to continue to educate, but mainly by getting to know each other. And so it's not a crowd show, it's a one-on-one kind of growth for the civility of our entire community, knowing that that we all belong and we all have a part, and we all, as Maria said, love wins out. So that's really my goal. It was from the very beginning, and it still is. And I'm, after being a founder and longtime president, I'm ready to turn the whole Pride reins over to a great younger group that has taken the reins this year. So you can thank them for our events this year, because I've just been kind of background.
And before we go to Maria for her thoughts, I would just like to comment that both of you are PhDs, and you, Bob, are an educator and former school principal, and Maria, you're a social worker. So it's very interesting that we have both of you with these great credentials leading the charge in this territory. And so, Maria, talking along those lines, what are your thoughts about the continued advancement of the LGBTQ plus community in the VI, and especially with regard to younger people who may not feel completely accepted and who may even be contemplating suicide and so forth?
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to see more allies coming out, because we are nothing without our allies. And if more people in the community would just say, it's okay, I love you anyway, regardless, that the younger people will feel safe. Like you said earlier, safety. It's all about safety. It's all about feeling like I am safe to just exist here. We're kind of seeing that a little bit now, but I would like to see that a lot more. Because with the younger people, there's that fear, there's that shame, there's all that, what is going to happen? But if we create an environment where they're seeing us, not just for Pride Month, then they know it's okay. There's a safe space out there for me. And that's what PFLAG is all about, having a safe space. And then for like the long-term goal, what I'm hoping is that Virgin Islands could be a destination for Pride, because people travel all over for Pride parades. What better place to come than the Virgin Islands, right? So
Exactly.
I'm hoping that we can see that in the future, but it starts with us and with our allies and with everybody saying like, this is a safe and welcoming space for the LGBTQ community.
Well, Maria and Bob, thanks so much for being on the show, and we encourage our listening and viewing audience to visit the St. Croix Pride Facebook page and the PFLAG St. Thomas Facebook page and AARP Virgin Islands Facebook page for more information and the entire schedule of events for Pride activities across the territory this month. We thank both of you so much for all of the great work you're doing in the LGBTQ plus community here in the territory, as well as the wider community, to bring all people together and for everybody to feel safe and included and loved. And AARP, again, is proud to stand with you, to stand by you, and to work together with you to educate, advocate, and celebrate the LGBTQ plus community in the territory. So thanks for being on our show today.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Troy, and happy
Thank you
Pride.
for having me.
Same to you. Have a great day.